Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Julian Morse. I'm the MLA for Frame Lake and chair of this committee. Today, committee is continuing its review of Bill 26, an act to amend the Public Service Act. As always, this public briefing is being live streamed on the Assembly's social media channels. And as a reminder, please direct all comments and questions to me as the chair. It just helps the meeting run smoothly and helps folks in our audiovisual booth to turn the mics on. I'm going to ask members to introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Hawkins.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Hawkins. I'm the MLA for Yellowknife Centre, and as always, I'm happy to be here along with our millions of subscribers. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kate Reed. I'm the MLA for Great Slave here in Yellowknife, and thank you for joining us.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have a couple of members online. I'll start with Mr. Jericon.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Good morning to everybody. MLA Richard Jericon, Tunadi Wasi.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Ms. Wayellen Armstrong, are you able to introduce yourself on there?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I'm Jane Wayellen Armstrong, MLA for Morphe, Clayton Region. Good morning.
Excellent. Good morning, and thanks to both of you, and nice to have you guys calling in online. This morning, committee is pleased to welcome Sara-Jayne Dempster, President of the Northern Territories Federation of Labor. Thanks you very much for joining us today. I'm going to turn the floor over to you for opening remarks, and then we'll open the floor to questions from MLAs if they have them about your presentation. So I'll turn the floor to you.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Sara-Jayne Dempster, and I am the President of the Northern Territories Federation of Labor, the NTFL. Today I'll be discussing the NTFL's position on Private Members Bill 26, which proposes changes to the Public Service Act that would permit nurses to leave the Union of Northern Workers. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. To provide context regarding the NTFL, we were founded in 1980 with the goal of uniting and representing workers across the Northwest Territories. In 1999, we expanded to include Nunavut. Our federation has always prioritized defending workers' rights, supporting safe and fair working conditions, and promoting the strength of organized labor. Over the years, the NTFL has played a crucial role in advocating for workers amidst changing political and economic landscapes. It's important to clarify that the Federation remains neutral in the internal political activities of its affiliates and is committed to serving in the best interests of all workers broadly. At the core of our Federation's principles is respect for the independence of our affiliates. Each union has the right to determine its membership and negotiate on behalf of its members, free from outside interference. We believe that collective bargaining is vital to the process of securing fair wages, safe working conditions, and adequate benefits. Simply put, political interference threatens the integrity and effectiveness of the process. Bill 26 seeks to amend the Public Service Act to allow nurses to leave their union, the Union of Northern Workers, for another bargaining agent of their choice. The government presents this bill as a measure to increase individual choice for workers. However, it raises serious concerns about the implications for union solidarity, collective bargaining, and worker protections. Our primary concern with Bill 26 is that it undermines the fundamental rights of workers to organize and bargain collectively. Allowing one specific group of workers to leave their union at will weakens the bargaining power of all workers. This will lead to a fragmentation of union strength, ultimately reducing the protections that collectively workers have fought long and hard to establish. This bill is a threat to the stability and fairness of labor relations in our territories. Union solidarity is fundamental to protecting workers' rights, securing fair wages, and maintaining strong collective bargaining power. When unions stand united, they have the power to advocate effectively and promote the interests of their members against employers, governments, and divisive tactics meant to weaken their influence. Bill 26 poses a serious threat to this unity. It risks fragmenting the workforce and diminishing the collective voice that is essential for fair negotiation. This legislation will set a dangerous precedent. It will undermine union strength and destabilize long-standing protections for workers. Adding to this concern is the proposed dual role of the College and Association of Nurses of the Northwest Territories and Nunavut, or CAN. CAN has publicly stated they will seek to become the bargaining agent to represent nurses. This is highly inappropriate given their primary role as the regulatory body responsible for licensing and disciplinary actions. As the regulator, CAN's authority is to be the oversight and adherence to professional standards and discipline. If CAN were to assume bargaining responsibilities as proposed, It would create a clear conflict of interest. Their dual roles, regulator and representative, would undermine the fairness and impartiality required by both disciplines. It increases the risk of political influence and inappropriate intervention. This will lead to the erosion of trust in both the regulatory and representation process. The primary duty of a regulator is to ensure professional accountability, not advocate for wages or working conditions. That responsibility belongs to the union. This move by CAN is likely to increase the risk of union raiding attempts from other organizations. Raiding weakens union unity, divides workers, and diminishes their collective bargaining power. Instead of focusing on the work that truly matters for their members, unions end up battling each other, draining resources, and creating division amongst workers who are better served when standing united. Internal conflict weakens collective bargaining power, makes it easier for employers to exploit divisions and undermine solidarity. During times of legislative uncertainty, such fragmentation is especially dangerous. It threatens to undermine the hard-won protections that have been fought for over decades. To preserve the strength and integrity of our unions, it is vital that we resist attempts to weaken solidarity. Autonomy, independence, and trust in unions must be protected. Our collective power depends on a unified, cohesive labor movement, not on divisions fostered by conflicting interests or ill-advised attempts at organizational control. Given these concerns, we strongly advocate for the creation of an adequately funded, independent labor board. Such a board would oversee the administration of union membership rights, resolve disputes, and ensure that collective bargaining continues on fair and impartial terms. An independent labor board would serve as a safeguard for workers' rights, ensuring that neither employers nor the government unduly influence labor relations. While we recognize the importance of government as a regulator, it should not be involved in the day-to-day decisions regarding union membership. Instead, government's role is to facilitate fair, neutral, and balanced labor relations. Any attempt to influence or interfere in union processes or membership decisions undermines the autonomy of workers and their unions. Independence and neutrality are vital for maintaining a fair collective bargaining environment. The NTFL opposes Bill 26 because it undermines workers' rights to organize and bargain collectively, threatens union solidarity, and opens the door for political interference in union activities. We believe that the independence of unions and the establishment of a neutral labor board are essential to maintain fair and effective labor relations in the territories. We strongly urge this committee to respect the independence of unions and all workers' rights. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. Committee members, do we have questions for the presenter? Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for your comments. It was quite direct and quite crystallized, I'll certainly say that, and I'm fine with that. I often prefer that. So if I was to ask you some of the questions, now one of the reasons Bill 26 is being proposed is it's a breakout solution for a group that's having issues, and this is not a disrespectful term, it's the truth. It's a special interest group. I mean, it would apply to hunters and trappers if, say, the hunters didn't want to work with the trappers anymore, and so splintering of groups can be defined certainly as a special interest group without treated in any negative way in the connotation. This individual group is feeling that they are not, their issues aren't being heard, and sometimes in negotiations, that's how sort of when you shake out the issues and they sort of start to emerge one way or the other, and some are sometimes not picked up. Do you see a different way of trying to address the conflict management issue between the two problems? So in other words, they feel their issues aren't being heard, they want their issues to be heard, and they're not being carried forward. So to me, that there's a conflict problem there, and there's sometimes a better way, because I pointed out, and I'll just finish up here, Mr. Chairman, by saying this, is that the irony is that I often hear that this particular local says they're not being heard, which is their right by all means to articulate, and good on them for delivering that message. It's funny, I'm hearing their message, so how could they not be heard? Isn't that an interesting juxtaposition? But the truth be told is that many MLAs, not singularly myself, I know Mr. Testard, Ms. Reed, and I think I've even heard Mr. Morris say things about advocating for their needs. So if their needs are being met, can you automatically define they're not being heard, and I'm not sure that that's the case. And so how do you see maybe a different way or a better way of articulating some of their issues, and just in short, things like shift premiums is one example?
Okay, Ms. Dempster.
So, as I stated before, we don't get involved in internal politics of our affiliates. So, that being said, there are absolutely ways that the union can move forward with their workers as it stands right now. And I have seen that they have made steps to start doing that. They have done surveys. They have been holding a fair number of meetings. I think that as it stands right now, we have not seen enough from the members in support of this bill to say that they have spoken to the vast majority of nurses in the NWT. We have also heard from a number of nurses who are not in favor, who have not spoken to anyone, the union or the group behind the bill. I think that in general, there needs to be better communication on all parts, and that would make a tremendous difference in people having their voices heard, in feeling represented, and in moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hawkins?
Thank you very much. And I know you're in an awkward position because you're not in this system, but you're sort of a parallel system, which means it's difficult to provide too much detail or tell them they should do this. I appreciate that. And I should make sure for our millions of subscribers, of course, that I do support the issues they are raising fully. In other words, that particular local, and I won't go through all the issues, and they know that. I keep telling them that. As a matter of fact, my floor, assembly floor experience will prove that I've been advocating for the issue. I'm a belief of no nurse left behind, no healthcare worker behind, rather than singling out teasing out, I want to be very clear, teasing out the smallest of group, because of course the ripple effect of what may change, and I agree with the collective solution in the context of collective bargaining works better for groups, and maybe we can reorg that a bit by all means to ensure that people are in parallel. I guess my question is what would you see would happen next from a speculatory point of view? We don't know what will happen next, but what are the types of things that could happen if Bill 26 happens? Could you just sort of revisit a couple of comments you made, or maybe the potential headaches we might be foreseeing in the future if you see Bill 26 proceed in the form it's currently written? I mean, tomorrow's form could be different, but the current draft. Thank you.
Ms. Dempster?
As it's written right now, if Bill 26 were to move forward, the nurses involved would be left without a collective agreement. They would be left without protections. The potential for rating from CAN is quite high right now. That doesn't just involve the nurses in the NWT, that involves the nurses that we represent in Nunavut as well. And they are not interested in having someone else come in and try to take them over. That is scary, and the idea of a rating attempt up here in our territories it's not something that we see a lot of. It's something that my counterparts down south absolutely see on a much more regular basis, and even that, it's frowned upon very heavily in the labor world to steal members from one union to the next. Those it would create a lot of fractures. It could very well splinter the UNW completely, and that is absolutely not something that we want to see.
Okay, thank you. I have Ms. Reed next for round one questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for your presentation today, Sara-Jayne. You spoke briefly about your desire to see an independent, adequately funded labor board. In your experience and in your discussions with similar colleagues who represent federations of labor across Canada, what do you see as the benefits and or drawbacks of a labor board for the Northwest Territories? And I mean, obviously for you, you also represent Nunavut, so neither of which jurisdiction currently has a labor board. So maybe you could elaborate on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dempster.
So having a effective, and I said adequately funded labor board, would eliminate the need for this. They would be able to oversee union rights, resolve disputes with impartiality, strengthen labor relations. There are concerns, of course. There would be growing pains. There would be making sure that, again, funding is adequate. There would be, there's always going to be issues when you're starting something new. I know I've heard time and again through these meetings that there are concerns with the Yukon's labor board right now. And to put it really simply, we can't base what we do on another jurisdiction. There's going to be problems. There's going to be growing pains. It is absolutely the way we need to move forward, though. It is very effective in other jurisdictions. It eliminates the government involvement where, like I said, I appreciate the government in general, but it has no place in collective bargaining.
Thank you, Ms. Reed, for follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and I guess for folks who might be tuned in who are not as well versed with labor issues and not understanding what the benefit of Bill 26 versus a labor board looks like, and I know you've gone into it and touched upon it in your presentation, but specifically, what would you want to see from a labor board to provide that neutrality? Who would be, quote unquote, in charge of running such an organization? And what have you seen works well in other jurisdictions? And I fair enough, but we are our own jurisdiction. We're going to have our own unique needs. And yeah, I guess I'm just asking what works well that you've seen and what doesn't work as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Dempster.
I think speaking to who would run it, it would be who is best qualified to run it. And that could be any number of people in this territory. We have an abundance of incredibly qualified, talented people who I think would be fantastic to speak to any of those specifically. I don't know. It would be up to hiring, I suppose. We'll look at HR. What we see in other jurisdictions are things specifically like the issues that the nurses are having right now, that they don't feel represented, they don't feel heard. And rather than having to come and sit here with you folks, they would take that to the labor board instead, who are specifically versed in labor relations, in the union world, and would be able to speak to that and help navigate that in a much more constructive way.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from online or anyone else before we move on to round two? Okay, Ms. Whalen Armstrong, please go.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I just want to ask about the duplication, if she can elaborate a little bit more on the duplication that she mentioned in her opening comments, because I know that in the Northwest Territories, we're different, we're unique, and we have a large landmass, but not enough. We have 42,000 people or 44,000 people here, and GNWT is the largest employer of the Northwest Territory in the Northwest Territories, and GNWT is the economy. We all know that, and so there's 6,000 members for UNW. I mean, not taking the NWTTA. So there's, I just want to ask the presenter there, in small communities, and I know if you've been to the small communities, if you were born and raised in small communities, our school would not be open without the teachers. Health center would not be open without nurses. So there's a lot of us, we're trying to hire and retain nurses in small communities. And I just want to know, ask, what is the duplication that she was talking about? If she can elaborate more on that. And what can we do to help to accommodate the small communities in this area? Because it's not just about the larger regional center, but there is small communities, and I know that there's a lot of people in small communities. They have a lot of concerns and issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dempster?
Yeah, if I could just ask for a little bit of clarification, I'm not sure which duplication you're speaking in regards to.
Ms. Whalen Armstrong, can you clarify a bit what the question is referring to?
Yes. Okay, well, they said that, Bill 26 risks duplicating or disrupting that process. If they can, elaborate more on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dempster?
I don't believe that I said that it would duplicate the process. The concern is right now that this is so specific to one small group, and I completely understand the concern with the communities. I lived in Inuvik for a decade before moving to Yellowknife, so I very much understand that, and I worked at the hospital, so I spent a lot of time with healthcare workers, and I would love to see what is best for them.
Thank you. Ms. Whalen Armstrong, do you have a follow-up?
No, that was my questions, but yeah, it's just that it's kind of we're at a disadvantage, like here in the WTTA, they do have their own union, and I am really surprised that we don't have a nurses union, because knowing in other places there's nurses unions, there's that doctors, everybody have a union representing them, but not in the Northwest territories. And like I said, in the small communities, we had our health center closed down quite a few times, not just here in all the NWT, because due to a shortage of nursing, and that is not okay with us. So I'm just saying that why, I would like to see what is the Public Service Act or the Public Service Alliance of Canada are doing to help, I would like to see something for the nurses. So what are they doing to helping, working with the nurses in this regard? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dempster?
I can't speak to what the Public Service Alliance of Canada is doing, as I am not the Public Service Alliance of Canada. I'm the Northern Territories Federation of Labour, which is a completely different and separate organization. I can speak to the NTFL specifically, and we do have a Northern Healthcare Matters campaign launching in November that will speak towards our concerns with retention and recruitment and education and healthcare for Northern workers in general.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions online before I move to round two, if there's going to be one? Mr. Jericon, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to say thank you to the presenter for being here today and giving us their view of about Bill 26. I just wanted to reflect back on the previous presenters in the last few weeks on this Bill 26. One of the things that came up and one of the presenters were that the union are looking at coming back to the table in 6 months to see how they could address some of these issues that are arising out of Bill 26. I guess maybe my question to the presenter would be now is that does she foresee that this issue could be addressed within 60 days or 6 months from now, and to help look for solutions to address the issue on Bill 26? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dempster?
I would not be comfortable putting a timeline of 60 days or 6 months on any type of communication. I think we all are aware that when situations get as complex and as deep as this is, these things will take some time to resolve, and I do believe that all the parties are interested in seeing a resolution that works for everyone, and I do see a path forward.
Thank you. Mr. Jerkon, follow-up?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any further questions. I just want to say thank you to the presenters, and I'm just going through all the materials, and when the time comes, we'll make a ruling on it. So I just want to say thank you to the presenter. Merci.
Thank you. Committee, we have time for round 2. Do members have further questions for the presenter at this time? Okay, seeing none on the floor, anyone online have any further follow-up? Just wanted to give them a second. Okay, seeing no further questions from committee, Ms. Dempster, I'll give you the opportunity for any closing remarks or clarifications you want to make. Anything you felt wasn't covered, now would be the time to go over it. And if you have any of those comments, so over to you.
Maybe. Thanks. Just to clarify, if we were talking about dual roles before, it was specifically in reference to CAN and their declaration that they will be seeking to become a bargaining agent, which has them being regulatory and representative, which is simply not going to work. So if that clears that up, no, I don't have any additional comments.
All right, thank you. And just for the record, since it's here, I mean, when CAN presented to us, they mentioned that they're looking at a restructuring to address that issue were this to pass. So they did kind of address that problem, but yeah, that's kind of up to CAN, but that is what they said to us at the meeting. Okay, so thank you very much for appearing before committee today. That brings the public portion of the briefing to a close. Colleagues, I would just ask that you stay so we can move in camera and debrief. But again, on behalf of committee, thank you very much to Ms. Sara-Jayne Dempster, President of the Northern Territories Federation of Labor, for taking the time to present to committee today.